I love cameras. I have so many cameras it's insane, including big fancy expensive professional ones, but believe it or not, most videos of me talking over the past few years were all made with a tiny little Sony RX100 Mark VII pocket camera. I've made several videos about it. For me, it's the perfect vlogging camera. If I want to make a video, I just pull it out of my pocket and start shooting. When I heard about the new Sony ZV-E10, I thought, maybe I should give it a try. It's small, it's made for vlogging, I can put any lens I want on it, it has the same awesome eye-tracking autofocus just like the RX100, and best of all, it has an APS-C sensor, which is much bigger than the small 1-inch sensor on the RX100. Surely the video quality must be superior, so I got one and immediately shot some stuff with some of my other comparable cameras around the same small size. The RX100 Mark VII, a 6300, an older Sony APS-C camera, a Canon M50 Mark II, a Canon M200, a Panasonic Lumix G100, and just for fun, one of the very first Sony APS-C cameras, the tiny original a5100. Are you ready? Here we go. This is footage from the ZV-E10. I still shoot everything in 1080 60p, so that's where I started because that's what I'm used to. And I'm using the 16-50 kit lens that it comes with. Eye tracking is super good, just like I expected. Alright, let's put the ZV-E10 footage on the left. Here's where it gets interesting. Let's bring out the RX100 Mark VII. First thing you notice is how much wider the field of view is on the RX100. The ZV-E10 16-50 is set to its widest. Eye-tracking autofocus is perfect with both. Alright, let's get closer. This is where it blows the mind. The RX100 footage is sharper, clearer, and better in every way. The colors are better, the stabilization seems better when you're hand-holding it, and it just produces a slicker-looking video to the eyes. The RX is almost half the size of the ZV-E10, and it even has a high-quality pop-up viewfinder. It can output 4K 422 via HDMI, it has a microphone and headphone jacks, it has really good stabilization, and it can shoot slow motion up to 960 frames per second. Wow, now you know why I've been using the RX100 Mark VII almost exclusively for my vlogging for years now. No big, clunky, heavy full-frame cameras or lenses. It's everything I need fitting right in my pocket. It costs $1,300 as opposed to the $800 for the ZV-E10, but it's worth every penny. Now some might say, well, that's 1080. The ZV-E10 was made for 4K. Alright, let's bump up both cameras to 4K. The RX100 still blows it away. And if you want to shoot 4K with the ZV-E10, you better hurry because that tiny battery will only last you a minute or two before it runs out. Good luck with that. Alright, so let's test some other cameras comparable to the ZV-E10, which by the way is $700 or $800 with the kit lens. Let's start with an older Sony 6300. Both cameras at 1080 60p. Even with the exact same lens, the 6300 has a wider field of view. Well, yeah, because the ZV-E10 has better stabilization, but I don't need that because when I film myself, I always have the camera on a tripod. I don't need stabilization. Face tracking is actually pretty good with the 6300. I was surprised. And here it is full size. Pretty darn comparable, I'd say. Not bad. Huh. Let's switch over to 4K. Here's the field of view. ZV-E10 on the left, 6300 on the right. The 6300 came out 7 years before the ZV-E10, and the video quality looks the same. Okay, here's the Canon M50 Mark II on the right, $700, and the ZV-E10 on the left. Both the same price, both using comparable kit lenses. Eye tracking is good on both exact same price. I would say the image quality is comparable, just slightly different color and contrast. Let's bump up both cameras to 4K. Looks fine, but the autofocus is a hit or miss with the Canon in 4K. Now here's my favorite Canon APS-C camera, the M200. It's wonderfully small, has a flip-up screen, wonderfully small size, and it's only $450. It also has really good eye-tracking autofocus. I think the M50 Mark II and the M200 are the last two EFM mount cameras that have really good eye-tracking autofocus before Canon switched over to the new R mount. Anyway, here it is on the right, ZV-E10 on the left. Both have comparable kit lenses, both have 1080 60p. Really not much different than the M50 Mark II, just smaller, cheaper, and lighter. Everything, by the way, I'm showing you is shot full auto or intelligent auto or whatever they call it. Let's bump up both cameras to 4K. Again, looks good, but the autofocus is iffy with the Canon in 4K. Another reason to shoot 1080. Alright, let's throw in the comparably small Panasonic Lumix G100 with its 12-32 kit lens, $500. This is micro four thirds, which is a smaller sensor than APS-C, but still bigger than the RX100 sensor. Face tracking on all these cameras so far is good for vlogging with talking heads. The video look, I guess, is a matter of taste. You can change the lenses on all these cameras except the RX100, which has a great wide-angle to medium telephoto zoom. And here's both cameras in 4K. Again, I never shoot 4K, 1080p is good enough for what I do on YouTube. And finally, let's try one of the very first APS-C cameras Sony made, the original A5100. I love this little thing. It's so small, you can't help but instantly fall in love with it. It has a flip-up screen and you can put any Sony lens in the world on this thing, even giant professional lenses. And you'll love it even more when you realize the SD card slot is on the side, not underneath the camera. The M200 is the same way, flip-up screen, SD card slot on the side. Why don't they make all cameras like this? Now I know it uses an old codec and it can't shoot 4K, but I don't shoot 4K, so let's see. Here's the framing with the exact same 16-50 lens on both cameras. Look at the difference. I know, it doesn't have stabilization, but again, I don't need that. That's just me. Here's the ZV-E10 with the Sigma 56 1.4, and here's the same lens on the 5100.
Hey, 6000, look how wide it is.
Because the 5100 doesn't have stabilization, you have a much wider field of view.
Hey there. What's up? Did you? Yeah. You got me? Is it working? Doing okay? Doing okay there? I think so.
I don't know about you, but from where I sit, the little old 5100 footage looks pretty darn good. It still holds its own. And the autofocus really isn't that bad if you don't move around too fast. Now the 5100 doesn't do 4K, but look how it holds up against the 4K of the ZV-E10. These little guys are liked by so many people they still sell for $600. I think the 5100 is the smallest APS-C interchangeable lens camera you can get. Sure, you can't film for a long time, it has an older codec, no viewfinder, blah blah blah. I don't care, it has a flip-up screen, an APS-C sensor, and you can put any Sony lens in the world on it and it fits in your pocket. Alright, I've talked a lot about all these cameras and very little about the new hyped up made for vloggers ZV-E10. You can probably tell I'm not impressed with it. The footage looks no better than any of these other cameras. Just because something is new does not mean run out and buy it. I'm returning the ZV-E10. I don't even want to give it away because what you already have is probably good enough. For me, when I want to do a quick vlog, I always immediately reach for the little RX100 Mark VII. I love it so much I have several of them. The footage looks so good it even intercuts with full frame footage quite well. It just doesn't have the blurry background, that's all. In fact, all the close-ups and product shots in this video are done with the RX100. Well, that's my little experience with the ZV-E10. I'm sure people who have one will say they love it, and that's great because really that's all that matters, is that you're happy with what you have. There's always a way to make it work. Maybe this raised some eyebrows. It sure did mine when I saw these tests. I share my findings with you because me having fun and playing around might help some people make decisions they can't otherwise afford. I'll keep playing and sharing as much as I can. Till the next video, tell your friends about Marcus Picks, and I'll see you then.